It's Friday afternoon. You're shattered. You've not had a minute to yourself all week. And yet, when you sit back and ask yourself what you've actually achieved, you can't answer it. I've seen that look on more salespeople's faces than I can count. And I'm going to say something your manager probably hasn't. Your diary is the problem. Not your effort, not your attitude, not your product. The way you're filling your time is what's holding you back. I've been in field sales for over 30 years and led teams for some of the biggest companies in the country. And by the end of this video, you'll understand the difference between a reactive territory and a planned one. And you'll be able to see which one you're running right now, and you'll know what to do about it. A full diary feels like strategy. It looks like strategy. Your manager sees the activity numbers and they're green across the board. You're hitting every KPI they've thrown at you. On paper, you're doing everything right. So why aren't the results following? Because there's a difference between being busy and being productive. And in field sales, most people never stop long enough to notice it. When your diary's full because you've been deliberate about who's in it and why, that's strategy. When your diary's full because you've said yes to everything, reacted to every call, filled every gap just to feel like you're on top of it, that's just noise. And noise doesn't sell. The problem isn't the effort. I've worked with some of the hardest working salespeople you'll ever meet. People who genuinely grafted, day in, day out. Never missed a meeting, never ducked a call. And some of them still got managed out because the numbers never came. Not because they were lazy, but because they were busy in all the wrong places. The thing is, this isn't sustainable. Running at full pace with no real direction behind it will catch up with you, whether that's burnout, another missed sales number, or eventually your job. The diary being full isn't the goal. The results are the goal. And until you learn the difference between filling your time and directing it, the results are going to keep letting you down no matter how hard you work. So the question becomes, if a full diary isn't strategy, what is? Because most salespeople have never actually seen what a reactive territory looks like from the outside. And once you have, you can't unsee it. So you can see the problem. The diary's full, but the results aren't there. But before you can fix it, you need to be able to recognize what's actually going on. Because most salespeople in this position genuinely believe they're doing the right things. And that's what makes it so hard to shift. The pattern usually looks something like this. A customer rings with an invoice query. You sort it out because you don't want them to have a bad experience. A service issue comes in. You chase it down because it feels like the right thing to do. A bit of admin backs up and you clear it because it's there and it needs doing. None of these things feel wrong in the moment. In fact, it feels like exactly what a good salesperson should be. Helpful, responsive, on it. But what's actually happening is that someone else's job is filling your diary. Invoice queries are for the accounts team. Service issues are for the operations team. And while you're doing their jobs for them, nobody's actually out there selling. The diary looks busy, the activity feels real, but the territory is running you, not the other way around. And what makes it worse, a lot of this is procrastination dressed up as productivity. Sorting out an invoice query is easier than having a tough conversation with an account that isn't growing. Chasing a service issue feels safer than prospecting a new account. So the reactive stuff fills the gap. The diary stays full and the uncomfortable work, the work that actually moves the needle, keeps getting pushed back. The shift you need to make is this. You need to control your diary, not let it control you. A real territory strategy means being deliberate about where your time goes, and that starts with making sure you're in front of the right accounts, not just the ones that shout the loudest. But knowing you should call on the right accounts and knowing which accounts those actually are, that's a different question entirely. And most salespeople, if they're honest, have never actually worked it out. So what does the alternative actually look like? Because until you've seen it, it's hard to know what you're aiming for. It starts with a simple exercise. Map out all of your accounts and look at what each one is actually delivering. When you do this, and I mean properly with numbers in front of you, you'll almost certainly find the same pattern every time. Roughly 20% of your accounts are delivering 80% of your revenue. Not half, not most, but a relatively small handful of accounts are doing the vast majority of the work for your entire territory. Now, here's where it starts to get uncomfortable. In a reactive territory, those accounts, the ones carrying your number, are getting exactly the same share of your time as everyone else. The accounts responsible for the bulk of your revenue are being treated the same as the small accounts that contribute almost nothing. And that means your most valuable accounts, the ones you literally cannot afford to lose, are being underserved every single week. Think about what that means in practice. The accounts driving your numbers are the ones most likely to be looked at by your competitors. They're the ones where a relationship that isn't being properly maintained will eventually go cold. They're the ones where a problem that you haven't spotted early because you haven't been in often enough will turn into a loss you never saw coming. And all the while you've been busy, genuinely busy, just not in the right place. The thing is, not all accounts are equal in value, so not all of them deserve an equal share of your time. That might sound obvious when you say it out loud, but the vast majority of salespeople don't operate that way. They treat their territory like a milk round. Same rotation, same frequency, same effort across the board, because it feels fair. But fair isn't the same as smart, and smart is what keeps you on track in field sales. The first step to a real territory strategy is knowing which accounts deserve the most attention and making sure they get it. Once you know where that line sits, everything else becomes a lot clearer, including what to do next. Knowing it and acting on it are two different things. This is where most salespeople stall. The principle makes sense, but Monday morning still looks the same as it always did. So here's what that looks like in practice. The accounts driving your number are always a smaller group than people expect. And that group is where the majority of your time, your energy, and your best thinking needs to go from this point forward. Not an equal share with everyone else, the lion's share, because those accounts have earned it and your results depend on it. Now, and this is important, this will feel uncomfortable. Some of the accounts that don't make the cut will be ones you genuinely like. Customers you've known for years, people you get on well with, accounts where the relationship feels solid. And it's going to feel wrong to deprioritise them. But let's be clear about what deprioritise actually means here. You're not dropping them, you're not ignoring them, you're still going to see them, just in proportion to what their turnover and potential actually demands. A small account that's been ticking along for years still gets a visit, just not at the same frequency as the accounts that are driving the bulk of your revenue. That's not neglect, that's professionalism. The thing is, a good relationship with a small account is still a small account. Sentiment's not a strategy. There's no place for sentimentality in field sales. If an account doesn't deserve your time based on what it's delivering now or what it's realistically capable of delivering, it doesn't get the same share. That's not harsh, that's what running a territory properly looks like. And once you start operating this way, you'll wonder how you ever manage without it. Because the difference between a salesperson who's always busy and a salesperson who's always hitting their number isn't effort, it's direction. And that starts with where you choose to spend your time. So that's the difference between a full diary and a real strategy. If you're spending time reacting instead of directing it, you're not doing anything wrong as a person, you're just operating without a system. And that's fixable. The thing is, effort without direction will always let you down in the end. You can hit every activity target your manager sets, see every account on your list, never miss a call, and still miss your number. Because the number doesn't care how busy you were, it only cares whether you were busy in the right places. And that's what this free guide in the description walks you through. A diagnostic that helps you see exactly where your time's actually going right now so you can start making that shift for yourself.